People living in Kansai are familiar with Kyocera Dome, Osaka, and even outside of Kansai, there are probably many people who have visited it at least once. Besides being the home stadium of the Oryx Buffaloes professional baseball team, it also serves various other purposes. It also serves as a multi-purpose dome for artist concerts and events. Since its opening, Kyocera Dome Osaka has never turned a profit and has a history of continuous deficits and bankruptcy. The commercial facilities that opened around the dome also ended up almost abandoned. In this video, I will introduce Kyocera Dome Osaka from its past to the present, sharing my impressions from actually visiting. On Daisuke's Anywhere Exploration team, we will continue to bring you enjoyable content. We're making many videos, so please subscribe to the channel. Thanks a lot. Thank you. That's how it is. So, I came to Domumaichi Osaki Station on the Osaka Metro Nagahori Tsurumi-ryokuchi line. The light green train is cute, right? It's also displayed on the station sign. This is the nearest station to Kyocera Dome Osaka. Also, when you exit the ticket gate, you'll find a really spacious area. It seems to be designed to accommodate the large number of people visiting the dome. The escalator to the ground level is decorated in Oryx colors, heightening the excitement of baseball game attendees. When you take the escalator up to the ground level, you'll immediately see the AEON Mall. There's Osaka Dome City here. Even though it's a little removed from the center of Osaka, it's still very much in the city. It's unusual to have an AEON Mall here, and compared to other AEON malls, this one is actually quite small. Now let me introduce Kyocera Dome. The location in Osaka is here in Nishi Ward, Osaka City, and you can get here in about 10 minutes from both Namba and Umeda. By the way, I visited there myself. In addition to Domemai Chiozaki Station on the Osaka Metro Nagahori Tsurumi-ryokuchi line, the nearest stations are Domemai Station on the Hanshin Namba line and Taisho Station on the Loop line, so access is very convenient. By the way, it's now called Kyocera Dome Osaka, but until 2006 it was called Osaka Dome. When introducing the history of the dome, Kyocera Dome, until the name changes to Osaka, I'll refer to it as Osaka Dome for now. It's emphasized that this is the home stadium of the Oryx Buffaloes. It's true, but it's still huge. It doesn't fit in the frame at all. If you look closely, there's a passageway that looks like you can go up. Actually, you can go to the 9th floor from here. It's a see-through escalator. When you hear Kyocera Dome Osaka, you probably think of the arena, but it's not just the arena. You can even hold events on the 9th floor. It's a multi-purpose space called Sky Hall, and it's used for exhibitions and sales events as a ring-shaped hall that surrounds the field. I think there are many people who have never been there or don't even know it exists, but events are held there every month and it's being properly used. Even so, with its design that really gives off a near-future, very 90s vibe, how did this dome come to be built and how did it get to where it is today? Since 1988, when Japan's first multi-purpose dome, Tokyo Dome, opened, Osaka also felt it couldn't lose to Tokyo and aimed for a multi-purpose venue as well. There were growing calls for the construction of a dome facility. In response, Osaka City quickly took action. In 1999, a committee was established to consider the construction of the dome. By 1992, Osaka City had already become the largest shareholder. The third sector company, Osaka City Dome Co., Ltd., was established. Besides the city, private companies such as Kansai Electric Power, Osaka Gas, Kintetsu, Panasonic, Hanshin Electric Railway, Daikin Industries, and West Japan also invested and participated in the management. There are some very prominent company names listed here, so you can tell that this was a development project with high expectations from the start. And so, in 1994, construction of the dome began on the former site of the Osaka gas factory. There were plans to extend the Nagahori-Tsurumi-ryokuchi line and the Hanshin Railway at the time. They chose this location considering future railway line plans. The Nagahori-Tsurumi-ryokuchi line was actually extended in the same year as the venue, and the Hanshin Namba line was extended in 2009. Subsequently, an enormous sum of 69.6 billion yen was invested. The Osaka Dome finally opened in 1997. Out of the 69.6 billion yen, about 50 billion was covered by loans, so the financial structure was weak. That's how it was. Osaka's first multi-purpose dome. They predicted that despite a large debt, they could recover, or so I believe. By the way, a remnant of the former Osaka gas factory site, an Osaka gas car shop, and a huge Osaka gas tank still stand next to the dome today. There's a tank. People visiting for the first time might wonder what this is, but it's not a facility related to the dome. There are several major features about the development of Osaka Dome, so let me introduce them. First of all, it became the home of the professional baseball team Osaka Kintetsu Buffaloes, and of course, there are other things as well. It can also be used for concerts and events, but being able to fill about 70 days a year just with baseball is a big deal. The dome was called the Super Ring. It had a retractable roof, so depending on how it was used, they could adjust the height of the ceiling to the optimal level and move the ceiling to control the acoustics. They were able to do that as well. It seems that it was also well received by the artists. And even on days without events, people would visit. It seems there were some clever ideas behind that. Tokyo Dome has also come up with clever ideas in that regard, so it's not just Osaka Dome. If people go there for events and then leave, they made sure it wouldn't be just like that. Next to the dome was the Padu Dome. On the second floor, there was a commercial facility called the Grindom Mall. Also, what is now the Sky Dome? The 9th floor of the dome was originally called Festa Mall. There was an indoor amusement park called Simland 9 and some restaurants. A huge underground multi-story parking lot was also built to accommodate many people. This is the sequence of events leading up to the opening of the venue. You might usually visit the dome casually for baseball games or concerts, but if you learn about its history and then visit again, I think you'll see it differently. Please feel free to share the knowledge you gained from this video with your friends. Just make sure not to annoy them too much. It opened with high expectations from all of Osaka. The Osaka Dome was a long-awaited multi-purpose dome for Osaka. For baseball games, it holds 36,000 people and its maximum capacity is 55,000. So it can accommodate quite a large number of people. You might think a lot of people would visit, but when they actually opened it, the results were terrible. It never turned a profit since it opened and continued to operate at a loss. In the 1996 business plan, the annual targets were set at 6 million visitors and 300 operating days. Still, the visitor count was only around 4 million in the first year after opening. After the first year of opening, the number of visitors fell below 4 million, and both the number of visitors and operating days were only about 50 to 60% of the targets. By the time the venue opened, the bubble had already burst, but the effects of the bubble still lingered. Projections were overly optimistic due to various reasons. Let's examine them. First, attracting visitors to the event was a major challenge. As for professional baseball games, they consistently had over 1 million attendees per year. If 1 million people attend games that make up about 1/5 of the total annual events, that's pretty good. However, the annual attendance goal for the dome was 6 million. That was quite a high target. Naturally, to achieve it, it was necessary to increase attendance at events other than baseball. However, during concerts, when the audience jumped in time with the music, the weak ground caused vibrations equivalent to a seismic intensity of 3. Due to its location near a residential area, nearby residents complaints started coming in and artists began to avoid holding concerts there, which became one of the reasons for the decline. It also became a cause. Also, the plan to get people to visit the dome, even on days without events, was a complete failure. There weren't any attractive tenants that would make people want to visit on days when nothing was happening, so both Padu and Green Dome Mall, which were developed together, ended up full of vacant tenants and were almost abandoned. Apparently, there was a restaurant produced by Hiromi Go in Padu. It seems that they moved to a better location in the city. The rest felt like typical commercial facilities. Even the Simlan class had only a few attractions, and since it wasn't a facility where you could spend the whole day, Festa Mall disappeared in no time. Also, the huge underground parking lot was built to reduce maintenance costs due to low usage. The number of cars was halved, the surrounding area was raised and buried, and the poor accessibility. In 2009, a meeting was held to discuss extending the Hanshin Namba line. Until then, only the Loop line and the Nagahori Tsurumi-ryokuchi line ran through Osaka's main stations. Setting aside the Loop line, the Nagahori Tsurumi-ryokuchi line didn't have that, so access from downtown was inconvenient. This isn't really about the history of Osaka Dome, but rather about the Osaka Kintetsu Buffaloes who used it as their home stadium. The team's annual usage fee for Osaka Dome was only 10 yen, and the trigger for the team's dissolution was related to Osaka Dome. It is said to be due to their relocation. They anticipated more spectators after moving to the city center, but it appears they only profited in the first year post-relocation. Now, let's talk about the business failure. Osaka Dome was heading straight for bankruptcy, but in 2004, Kintetsu and Oryx merged their baseball teams, making Osaka Dome their home base. They even faced the possibility of losing their home, which was a major issue. That's what happened. Then, at the end of 2004, unable to bear a deficit of about 588 million yen, the operating company, Osaka City Dome, effectively went bankrupt. However, the Osaka Dome was fortunate because after merging with Kintetsu, Oryx came to the rescue. After merging, Oryx moved their home base from Kobe to a more accessible location with higher anticipated attendance. They chose the Osaka Dome. After that, they bought the dome itself for 90 yen. Although the third sector company, Osaka City Dome Kouma Landa, kept its name, Oryx took control of its management and it was no longer under the control of Osaka City. They also sold the naming rights of the facility to Kyocera. As of November 2024, it continues to operate as Kyocera Dome Osaka. By the way, at first they were going to name it Kyocera Dome, but there was a request to include Osaka in the name. Due to local requests, it became Kyocera Dome Osaka. The management's financial stability enables facility investments. Oryx made improvements. They invested funds to improve the environment so that fans could fully enjoy watching games, such as expanding and updating the stadium monitors and improving the restaurants inside the stadium. They also improved neighbor relations and installed devices to reduce vibrations. As a result, they are now able to hold live events more than before. Even so, jumping is still prohibited. Now from here, I'll introduce some of the major changes between when it first opened and now. First, the movable ceiling called the Super Ring. Many of you probably learned for the first time in the introduction that the dome's ceiling can actually move. That's because it's no longer in use. The supplier stopped manufacturing the parts, so if it were to break down, it would take a lot of time and money to repair it. If it stops at a low position, it interferes with baseball games, and if it stops at a high position, it interferes with concerts. That's why since 2004, it has been kept fixed at a highly practical height of 60. Next is the commercial facility on the second floor of the dome, Green Dome Mall, which is now called Stadium Mall and continues to operate. Unfortunately, the day of filming was a regular holiday, so I couldn't go inside. I wasn't able to go in, but as expected, on days when there are no events, there aren't many visitors. The tenant spaces remain partially unoccupied. There used to be a McDonald's here, but it closed down in 2022. And then there was also a commercial facility called Padu, which was located right across from the dome. Padu was operated as a joint venture between an Osaka gas subsidiary and Sega, so it had a kind of game center-like design. Well, that's beside the point. No attractive tenants showed up, leaving many vacancies. The situation remained unchanged. It was demolished in 2007 to make way for the construction base of the Hanshin Nanba Line Dome-mai Station. Subsequently, AEON Mall Osaka Dome City opened and other large-scale developments followed, leading to the current situation. Super Viva Home, a home improvement center, and the commercial facility for Rio have also opened, transforming the area into a place where people gather even without relying on the dome. By the way, this is what it looked like in front of Kyocera Dome in 2009. The sky felt really wide, but it's changed a lot since then. Oryx made a lot of improvements, and as a result, there are hardly any traces left from the Osaka Dome era. After searching all over, I finally found a sign for Osaka Dome within the dome's premises, so I'll share it with you. Ta-da! The sign is worn out and falling apart, but you can still see the Osaka Dome written on it. Plus, there's also Padu. When I found it, I was really excited. I got really hyped. Of course, the Hanshin-Nanma line is also open. Since this was before there was no sign for Domime Station, I also found a sign for Green Dome Mall. I couldn't find any clear information about when the name changed, but it seems like it hasn't even been 10 years since it became Stadium Mall, so the name Green Dome Mall still remains on quite a few other signs as well. Well then, some of you might think that Sapporo Dome, which the Hokkaido Nippon Ham Fighters left, and Osaka Dome overlap in some ways. When I decided to make a video about this dome, Sapporo Dome was the first thing that came to my mind as well. Well, I wonder how it really is. Sapporo Dome has about 22 billion yen in cash thanks to the money they were taking from the Nippon Ham Fighters. They don't seem to be in immediate danger of bankruptcy, but they lack concrete plans to improve their financial situation. However, they sold the naming rights, so the name has changed to Daiwa House Premise Dome. I hope they don't follow the same path as Osaka Dome in the future. It's really trivial, but I was filming all day on this day and Kyocera Dome Osaka was the last place I visited. Even though there wasn't much time left before sunset, the name Osaka Dome still remains. Because I was searching for the sign with all my effort, it ended up being sunset. And so, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, please consider subscribing to the channel and giving it a like. I'll see you in the next video.